Hi, my name is Emily McGurk, and I've chosen to analyze the disaster management in Italy. In 1919, the first law on relief in Italian history was passed, which began the history of Italy's disaster management. In 1925, a law regarding civil protection was passed. It wasn't until 1970 that an overall framework of civil protection interventions was introduced. In 1980, there was a major shift from response and recovery to prevention and mitigation in regards to disaster management. And finally, in 1992, the National Service of Civil Protection was formally established. Through researching Italy's previous disasters, it is clear that the implementation pattern in Italy is bottom up. The responsibility for implementing civil protection measures following a disaster lies with the lowest possible level of government, starting with the municipalities and working all the way up until the federal government. There are many types of hazards associated with Italy and disaster management. Italy is one of the European countries at greatest risk for natural disasters. Some of these hazards include volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, earthquakes, and industrial accidents. Additionally, they are also at risk for flooding and other severe consequences of each of these natural disasters. The primary way that Italy plans for these disasters is by educating the public and by implementing early warning systems for each of the major disasters that they threaten the country. There are many participants in Italy's disaster management system. One large group of participants is the volunteer organizations or non governmental organizations. One of these would include the Red Cross, and this would also include any religious organizations. The armed forces and international organizations, such as the United Nations or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, also play a large role in disaster management in Italy. Italy faces many potential obstacles to effectively managing disasters. One of the major potential obstacles that they face is the costs associated with recovery and response and with prevention and mitigation. Since mitigation is the most expensive part of disaster management, and Italy is already plagued by so many disasters, making sure that there is enough room in the budget for this is a crucial part of effectively managing their disasters. Like many other countries, disasters in Italy's history have shaped its disaster management system significantly. One example of this would be the Florence flood of 1966 and the Belize earthquake of 1968. Both of these disasters suffered from poor responses, which led to the law in 1970 that outlined an overall framework of civil protection and interventions. Another disaster that led to changes in disaster management was the Seveso disaster of 1976. This resulted in the Seveso Directive, which created a new system of industrial regulation throughout Europe.